Well, today we're talking about droughts. I'm not going to need this hat. That's a rain hat. I might need it for a thunderstorm, when I'm running inside to get safe. I might need it for a flood if it's flooding while it's raining. But today is much different. Today we're talking about almost the opposite of lots and lots of rain. What happens when it doesn't rain? What happens when it hasn't rained for a long time? Well, there's a word that it looks like when you see the cracking in the dirt and it doesn't look like moist soil like we could plant in. And that word is dry. So the soil looks really dry. So that's bad for plants. It's also very bad for farmers who are growing crops. Any kind of plants make food. So if a farmer's going to sell watermelons and apples and tomatoes, if there's a drought, he might not be able to grow that stuff unless he finds his own water. And you cannot water a lot when there's a drought. You may go over to your kitchen sink and go to turn it on one day. Okay. And then I turned it on, but there's nothing coming out. Nothing coming out. And that could happen in a drought. Droughts cause water shortages. I got a message last year that said it hasn't rained in a long time. It was from the town, and they said, do us a favor, and don't water your grass with your sprinklers as much as you normally do. You're allowed to water your grass 1 or 2 times a week. That's it, maybe even just once. So this will help the drought situation because we're conserving, okay? We're reducing. We're using less. So here we go. If it has not rained in a long time, that's called a drought. A drought can occur. During a drought, the land is very, very dry. And there's very little water available. Well, animals need to find water in their habitats to survive, so it could be very, very dangerous for animals. If they can't find water, they could get sick or they could die. So people count on water too. We use it for washing our hands, but we also use it for brushing our teeth, for drinking, for bathing, for lots and lots of reasons. My dogs drink the water. The guinea pigs drink the water. So when it starts affecting crops, when it starts affecting people and animals, and look at that cracked land. That's what it's going to look like. These crops are not tall and growing strong. These crops look as if they're starting to wilt, and they're not living like they should. So, we learned about lots of different kinds of bad weather this week. We talked about erosion. So the water supply means how much water we have. If there's a drought, the water supply could become less and less and less. And that means these trees are not going to get the water. It's going to be weather almost like a desert in a forest because the rain is just not giving the trees the water they need. Okay? So what are some important ideas during a drought? Well, we talked about reducing or using less. So are we going to take long baths and long showers? Not during a drought. Not if we want to be part of the solution and help our community who may not have lots and lots of water. So if it hasn't rained in a long time, this could be a problem. And the reason is because we need water to survive. And without water, a lot of the things that we do, see how this river is becoming smaller and smaller? So there's different kinds of drought. So I want to do a recap of what we learned all week. We review, and that's how we become the best learners that we can be. We started with a thunderstorm. Rain, heavy rain, thunder, lightning. Then we talked on Tuesday about a tornado that's spinning, very, very strong wind storm. Then we talked about a flood. When it rains a lot in a short amount of time, there's puddles everywhere, and it could get so bad that you're standing in the water in your front yard. And then today, we are talking about the drought. If it has not rained in a very long time, a drought can happen, okay? And during a drought, the land is very dry, and there's very little water available for us to use. So let's think of a couple things that we do with water. We take baths with water. We drink water. We give water to animals. Water is so important. The plants use water for growing. And the people that really count on the water is the farmers, because they're growing food. That's what they do every single day. Okay? So I guess the water has evaporated into the water vapor, just like we learned in the water cycle, condensed in the cloud. It didn't get enough water droplets to start precipitating. And it doesn't. It's just something that happens. It's because of the weird, wacky weather. And this week we were talking about some kinds of bad weather. Well, tomorrow we're going to review all the topics and all the ways to stay safe. And I'm going to end today's video on ways to stay safe. Okay? So just a review. Thunderstorms. Okay? Never stand under a tree and go inside. If you're in a swimming pool, get out. Not safe. Next is a tornado. Tornadoes go to the basement or the lowest part of your building. Okay? Ask mommy and daddy where that is, but go to the lowest part of your building. And if you don't know where it is, ask them right now. Say, hey, where's the lowest part of where we live? And they can tell you. They can say, oh, it's right over there. So now you know. Then we talked about a flood. And to stay safe, you never want to play in the flood water. The flood water is filled with different types of things that can hurt you, so you don't go in there. You also want to go during a flood to a place that's higher, okay? If I spilled, if a fish tank spilled on the floor, I might have to get to somewhere higher, like standing on my couch. Okay, and it makes sense. Get to somewhere higher in your home. If your home is not high and you live next to a mountain, you may want to talk to your parents about climbing that. I don't know. You have to know your environment and where you live. And the last thing we spoke about was drought. And it's really not a way to stay safe, but a way to help your community or help the people around you and the earth overall, is that during a drought, the land is very dry. So you want to reduce the amount of water that you're using. While you're brushing your teeth, you shut the water off. And then when you want to rinse, you turn it back on. And things like that. Everybody have a super day, and I'll see you tomorrow. Tomorrow is, as you guessed it, Friday.